Hey everyone, welcome. I'm going to just put my little thing on my screen so it doesn't turn off and I can keep it on. Okay, welcome to Monday. Welcome to the daily tune in today. I'm Vidette Mayer. It has been a weekend. We have been in some pretty intense energies. We've had quite a few uh, geomagnetic storms that have come in. My brain is a little bit foggy. Geomagnetic storms. We had a KP index that has went up to a 6 over the weekend, which if you don't understand it, it's okay. But it's a pretty high level of, geomagnetic storm. And we've seen a lot of interesting occurrences that have happened throughout our world. So everything that we've really been talking about on these daily tune-ins of like the tsunami of energy that happened. My light is freaking out. The tsunami of energy that occurred a couple of weeks ago that we talked about is now coming into the physical reality with literal tsunami warnings that have happened. We've had the volcano, or, there's all kinds of theories about what that really was, or whether it was really a volcano. At the very least, there was some kind of massive explosion near Tonga that put out tsunami warnings all across the world, pretty much. We're seeing a lot of chaos. I don't know about you, but in my own personal world, there's been a lot of chaos. People are coming out of the shadows, so to speak, as just kind of throwing out some dark yuck. And it's been a weekend of just been like, kind of protecting myself energetically from these individuals who are really uncomfortable with changes in the world and with conversations that they don't understand. So if you all have been in it, like, I would love to hear if you've had some interesting energies that you've been navigating throughout the last few days. So just to do a quick check-in, wow, we have Norway here, Colorado. I've got I think I always have Pagosa Springs on. It's like Colorado is one of my favorite places. Florida, welcome everybody. And we've got Kazembe in London, super cool, love it. I forgot on Friday to mention, I want to make sure that I hear my voice as much as I can, to thank Carol and John for your support of Thursday's Daily Tune-In. And then I also want to thank Lori for supporting Friday's Daily Tune-In through buymeacoffee.com. Thank you all so much. I genuinely appreciate the support, and I will tell you, the support goes way beyond what you can imagine. You all showing up here every day goes way beyond what you can imagine, especially since this weekend there's been a lot of weird, stuff on social media coming at me about these conversations, and it's been a little bit hard. My ego has been quite challenged by those who don't understand this conversation and have a lot to say about it. And stepping away from arguing with those who don't understand has been my lesson this weekend. So for all of you that come here and send great thoughts and support the daily tune in, it means more to me than I think you really know. So thank you for being here. I felt the rumble before it happened here in Calgary. Interesting, Lisa. Saturday morning. Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of rumblings in all the ways that rumbles show up, right? Like the earth can shake. We're going to be seeing more of that. We're also going to be seeing rumbling in our politics and, all around the world. We're seeing rumblings of all kinds of stuff, that in the news, not just the mainstream media news, but, in independent news places, and where you can start to track what's happening in a more honest and truthful way, where things aren't censored. We see a lot of that third dimensional world, the dismantling of it. We're seeing it not starting to happen. It's been happening, but we're starting to see the visual effects of it. So it's really interesting. And the more we see, the more the energy is going to get pretty frenetic, right? So people are going to start to see what they couldn't see before. And this is why the mass awakening is going to occur. A lot of these events are deliberately helping humanity who haven't yet been able to see in a lot of different ways to finally see what's been underneath what's been underlying underneath everything. And so that because of that, I wanted to talk today about raising the standard of expectation. It was so beautiful the other day. We were walking, my husband and I were walking, and we met this beautiful girl. She just came up to us, and we stick out like sore thumbs here. I mean, the way that we dress and everything, not having official winter clothes in the dead of winter here in Ukraine. We have like a mishmash of gear, and my husband wears this big old serape we got, that I've had for years from Mexico, and we're hilarious when we make fun of ourselves when we walk around here. So we stick out like sore thumbs. And this girl came up to us and she said, "Do you speak English?" And we're like, "Yes." Like, hearing anyone speak English here is so exciting for us. And so she invited us to her church on Sunday. And we were like, whatever, we'll go wherever we can go and be around people who speak English, because she said there was quite a few Americans there. So we went and had this beautiful morning, just spending some time with people that we could speak to. And we heard a beautiful message. And church isn't really our thing, per se, but just being around people and being, in a community was such a rich experience for us, since it's just been my husband and I for about 5 months here. And one of the parts of the sermon he was talking about was, the minister. He was talking about, um, he's always had store-bought bread, and the store-bought bread has always been so good. And over the course of the lockdowns, and just kind of everybody hunkering down more in the last couple of years, his wife started to bake the bread. And he said they can't even do the store-bought bread because her bread is so good. It's so rich with the love that she creates it with, and their family. Their family absolutely loves this fresh baked bread. So he's like, now she's on the spot because she can't just go out and buy a loaf of bread. She's got to make it. Like, everybody expects her to make it. But when he was telling the story, it was so beautiful. And it really got me thinking about my own life and all of the ways that we have gotten into a habit of expecting less of than our soul intentions, than the dreams that we have for ourselves. We kind of have geared ourselves through the programming and through the conditioning of our upbringing, and especially in the Western cultures, of accepting just what's good. We accept the school system because it's good. We accept that we're supposed to check off the boxes, and you go to school, you go to university, you get a good job, and you get married, and you have kids, and you have your suburban life, and you check, and it's a good life. It's a good life. And yet many who are living kind of the templated life, we have more people than ever before that are unhealthy, we have diseases we didn't have 20 and 30 years ago. And there's a lot that goes into that. But we have more people that are mentally and emotionally unhealthy. We have more and more people that are obese and physically unhealthy than ever before. And that tells us overall that the current lifestyle in which we have been living, which we have been programmed is a good lifestyle, isn't working for the health of majority of people, the full health. And when we live like that and we continue to be like, well, it's good, we forget that there is something that is even more good. And what that something is our soul aligned good that is unique, that is special, that is created and designed especially for each of us as individuals. And even in the Bible, we brought this up the other day, when God created light and it was good, right? But like I'm going to say God, but put your word in here. God, spirit, universe, whatever your belief is, the creator, when it creates good, it is way beyond what we know our conditioned good to be. And what this whole process is that we talk about here, consciousness is rising up and having the courage to keep rising up into these higher levels of expectation, to where we finally put our third eye on what is good for each and every one of us, whether it's good for our moms, whether it's good for our, our families, whether it's good for our best friend. If they can't see it, but it is our good, that is where we are going. That is where we are striving to be able to live in the higher consciousness of the fourth dimensional frequency, our heart frequency, our energetic self, and then to rise up so we are fully in the fifth dimensional, spiritually aligned, multi-dimensional whole expression of our lives, which is good, which is like the big good. And the big good, the creator good, is way beyond where any of us have been living. I can guarantee it, because we haven't known that world yet, because we haven't been able to strive to those higher levels of frequency before in majority of our lifetimes. It hasn't been available since 26,000 years ago, the last time we went through this orbit, the last time we went through this, that we orbited through this photon belt. We are in it now. We have access to a higher level of good than we have ever known. But in order to get to those higher levels, we have to be able to have the courage to close the door to the lower good, to the conditioned good that we have been I want to say sold, but the conditioned good that we have accepted and that we have said okay to. For me personally, that came last year. And I'm really in, well, I'm going to get to that. Last year, my husband and I sat and we're like, we have a really good life, but we were aching still. We were aching for more. And what I knew from a consciousness perspective is we are not soul aligned. We aren't living the creator good. The creator who sent me into this world at this time to live my soul aligned life with my husband, we were both aching too much, even in our good life, that we knew we weren't where we were supposed to be. So we closed the door. The hardest thing I have ever done in my entire life is to close the door on that life, because it was the healthiest and the most and the goodest it had ever been in my entire life, because I had lived a pretty unhealthy life up until then. Although it looked good, it was not emotionally and mentally good. And I overcame a lot of that. I recreated much of it to get to the point where we lived last year, and we had a really good life. But here's the thing, and I posted about this over the weekend because it was so much on my mind. I knew it had to be collectively an experience that many of us are having. When you close the door to one opportunity, right? Another one opens, is what we're told. But these spiritual, you know, ideologies that were sold, they're truthful, but the true work is in between the two doors. When you're standing there, and I've talked about this before, there's even a book that says when one door closes, another opens, but it's hell in the hallway. The hell in the hallway is where our opportunity is to rise up in frequency, to rise up in the expectation of what we expect. So when we close that door in our own lives, for me, when I closed the door in Austin, Texas, and sold everything off, and a beautiful house that I loved and all the things, and we went in the direction of an unknown destination. When we closed the door to life as we knew it, as globally, we closed the door on everything we had known prior to COVID. And many people, many of you had to close a door. You had to quit a job. You had to stop that business. You had to stand up for something that you never had to stand up for. There's so many people now that are in that hallway. And in that hallway, it's really easy to get so uncomfortable that you go back and through the door that you know, because the ego is going to want to send you back. It's going to want to go back to what it knows. But let me tell you, that's going to be even more painful, because once you open the door and walk through and you know that there are doors available to you, if you go backwards, it is going to ache a shit ton more than it did when before you wanted to open that door and go through it. I have thought so many times in this my own journey of, what if we just go back? What if we just go back? And within a split second, there's a hard no. Like, my soul was like, are you kidding me? You know, if you go back, it's going to be even more painful. And you're going to be right back here in this hallway. And here's the other thing. When we get into that hallway, we can see that there are many doors, and we get to choose which one we go in. One will open, but it doesn't mean we have to go through it. Because if we open it up and it's not to the level of expectation that we have for ourselves, the ego is going to say, just go through it, because it's here. We know what it is now. We know what it is. Just go through. But we can now, when we're soul aligned, we stand in that hallway in the discomfort long enough the ego will finally shut the heck up enough where the soul will take over and say, nope, this is not your door. You got to shut that door too and stand here a little bit longer. And then another door will come and you open that. And that might be the door that the soul says, walk through it. Or it could still be the one where you're practicing to overcome the ego, and the ego says, yep, there's an open door, just walk through it. But this is where we learn. In the hallway is where we learn to sit in the discomfort of waiting for our higher expectation of good to appear. How this is showing up for me, and I'm just going to share this, not because it's me, but it's because I'm here to share my own experience vulnerably. We have been in Ukraine for 5 months, and y'all, I don't like it here. We came here for an opportunity. A door opened, and we saw the opportunity. We walked through it. 2 weeks after getting here, we realized that the opportunity in which was presented to us was not at all the opportunity that we walked into. And at that point, we knew that we had walked through not the incorrect door, but we walked through a door where we said, okay, we need to close this door. We're closing the door to Ukraine. That was 5 months ago. So for 5 months, we have been in this hallway waiting for the next door to open. We've had a couple doors that have come to us, and we opened it. Would you like to go to this country? And for us, we were like, that's not where we're headed. No, we got to close that door. And it's the most painful thing. And the ego is like, what? You don't like it here. You want to get out. Why are you not just getting out? Because the getting out is not what we're looking for. It's the expectation of what we have set for ourselves for good. And that those couple of doors weren't good enough. And it's not because I'm too good. It's like, no, I've come this far. I'm in this hallway. I've closed the door to everything I have known. I'm not stepping through another door until I feel it in my soul. And so far, our souls collectively have not given us a hard yes on anything. We think, my ego wants to think it knows what we're looking for and how we're going to get there. But my soul keeps saying, nope, because that option hasn't shown up until we stand in this doorway long enough in the hallway long enough to know that the ego doesn't know shit at this point. It doesn't know anything, because now we are so far in the unknown. I know that my ego has no clue what it's doing, but it keeps wanting to send me all of the ways that we can just get the heck out of this, out of this country. But we are standing strong in the hallway and waiting patiently. It's not always patient, but we are waiting in the trust and expectation. And in a higher level of expectation, we've raised our standard for what we're willing to move on. And at that point, when that expectation is met and that doorway looks like that, and we get a hard yes, we will walk through it. We are all in this. We are watching the world as we know it start to dismantle in front of our eyes. It is really easy to lower our expectations and go down into these life constricting emotions of fear or anxiety or worry and go back to something we knew just because it's comfortable. But at that point, it will be even more painful. So if you are standing in the hallway wondering about a job or a relationship that feels so painful, and you've closed the door in that relationship, and you're alone, you feel like you don't have support. Maybe the job is like you close the door to a job and you feel like money's running out or there are no options. Stay there long enough. Stay there long enough to let every part of your ego peel away and die off, because you have jumped. I just did a video on this. It's on Instagram and Telegram. You have jumped off the cliff. We have all jumped off the cliff. If you're here and you are having this conversation, I guarantee you, you're experiencing this in some way. When you jump off a cliff, and the whole saying is, oh, God will give you your wings. Yeah, but you're going to have to fall really close to almost death before you get your wings. Because on the way down, every fear that you have, it's the same metaphor as standing in the hallway. Every fear that you have is going to come up while you're in that hallway. That's why it's called hell in the hallway. The hell is because you sit in that fear, and then until it's no longer a fear and you let it strip away. And then something else comes up, and oh my God, what if? Then you let that strip away. And oh my God, what if? And the whole thing that's being stripped away is elevating your consciousness higher and higher and higher to a doorway you can't see when you're in the hell, because you're so bogged down with fear that once you start getting rid of all that and you rise up in consciousness, there's a doorway here that is so much higher than you could see before. And that's when you get to walk through that doorway. And that's the doorway to the higher expectation, the higher standard that you have for yourself. And the good, like the soul aligned good, is it through that doorway. But you got to be willing to stand in that doorway and allow it to rise you up. And you do that through sitting in the discomfort. I know this. I know it so well because I'm in it at this point, and having faith in it is all I've got at this point. It's all my husband and I got. We're just sitting in the discomfort of trusting this process. And it isn't easy, but it's necessary, because at this point we've come too far. We've closed too many doors behind us. We all have, as a global community, we've closed too many doors to what wasn't working to go back to what wasn't working. We have to keep moving forward. And sometimes it's just being in the stillness of just staying in the place that you're at in patient expectation to not move until your standard of expectation rises up in your consciousness, so that you can meet the doorway that you open up, and then your manifestation is there and you've risen up into that higher level of expression of the higher consciousness in which you rose up to by standing in the discomfort. Does that make sense? Because this is where we are. I can feel it. I can feel the collective. It would be so much easier to go back. It would be so much easier. I get messages from people who are like, my life is falling apart. What do I do? You just be in the falling apart. We have talked about this time on these daily tune-ins for weeks now. We knew it was coming. We've had tsunamis of energy, and consciousness is energy. And once that consciousness, that is a cause, once it affects the physical world, it is going to be destructive. Tsunamis are destructive. They will destroy, like whatever the tsunami is that's showing up in your life, it's going to feel scary and chaotic and destructive. But this is what we've been preparing for on these daily tune-ins since November, when we went through those 40 days of intense tsunami-like energies. We are now living in the physical manifestation of that. And we just have to hold the line. Friday, we talked about holding the line. Holding the line means holding your expectation of good. We are safe to hold the line here because our good, the soul aligned good, is coming. It's there. We're just, the longer we sit and rise up in courage, and we have the courage to stand our ground and hold that line, we then move into the life expanding emotions. And then we're willing to open a door and choose, is this good enough? Is this good? Is this the good? I come this far. I'm not going to settle for just kind of good. I'm at this point, y'all, I'm not. I'm going to wait here, and I'm going to be willing to wait. And I'm going to be willing to go to that level of expectation that I hold for myself now, because I've done a lot of work and I deserve my soul aligned good. And so do you. Okay, let's go and check in with y'all. Heard a loud bang early Sunday morning around 2 a.m. Ooh, I wonder what that was. But interesting, because I'm curious about that. Good morning from Quebec. Stay strong and shining your light, everyone. Yeah, like this is what it means to hold the line, like we're all doing it together. And I come on here and I share vulnerably what's going on in my own life so that you can see that you are not the only one. It shows up differently for all of us, but it probably feels pretty comparable. It feels pretty similar when we're all like, oh my God, this is so hard. We went for a walk before I got on here, and I was telling my husband, like, I don't want to do the daily tune, and people are like, people can be mean and like they don't show up here, but eventually there's going to be someone that shows up on this chat that is showing up on Instagram at the moment and spewing out the dark. But that's what's happening when you hold the line. Think of any war story. Again, I always say I don't like bringing up war stories, but we're just conditioned with the knowledge of that. So it's a metaphor. But holding the line, when a side is like holding a line, or maybe let's talk about football, like they're trying to hold the line, that other team wants to push you back. They want to push you back beyond that line. They don't want you to get that first down. They don't want you to get that, it's been so long since I've watched sports. Like I'm forgetting my terminology. They don't want you to get get to score. So they want to push you back behind your line. They're pushing you, right? They're pushing the whole team. So right now we are holding the line of consciousness of expecting a whole hell of a lot better of a standard for our global systems than ever before. And there are going to be those that want to argue for those old systems, those old paradigms, because they're comfortable and they can't see how unhealthy they were. I couldn't see 3 years ago really that my life looked good, but it really wasn't my soul's expression. It wasn't fully healthy for me or my family, right? But now that I can see, if I went back to it, it would be a whole hell of a lot more unhealthy, because then I could see it and I still accepted it. That's a whole other level of dis-ease, and that would create disease. I refuse to be one of the ones that allow dis-ease to continue on our planet in any form. And the only way that I can do that is by holding the line with all of you, locking arms and saying, we are not moving from this expectation of good. We are in the hallway and it is uncomfortable. We don't know where this world is going. We don't know where our individual lives are going, but we are going to expect a hell of a lot more than we've been given. And by holding that line, we are holding the solidarity of our sovereignty one by one to allow this world to evolve, to allow new doorways to open. And each of us, when we walk through the higher expectation of the doorway, each individually, it brings that whole level of consciousness up in our entire planetary consciousness up in a higher level of expression. That's how this is working. So we have got to hold the line and keep shining the light. Thanks, Isabel. That was perfect verbiage. Sometimes we need to close the door on something good to get something better. Yeah, it makes zero sense, right? Like our logical mind's like, what? Why would you do that? I can tell you The last time we drove away from our house in Austin, we had everything that, like, we had pared down our house into what could fit in our 4Runner because we were driving into Mexico. Like, nothing made sense. I had never felt anxiety like I did that day, because I was like, what am I driving away from? That was really good. But I knew, and I still know that there is something far ahead of us. Not far. I'm not going to affirm that. There is something ahead of us that is more than I could have imagined. And I have that for our world. And I hold that vision for all of you. I don't know what it looks like. And sometimes I feel crazy for holding the vision, but then I don't, because my crazy has always been right. All the things that people have called me crazy for. Earlier on Instagram, someone said I'm mentally ill. And for what he thinks I'm mentally ill, I've been called stuff like that before, because my crazy is the expectation of a higher standard for all of us, and including myself. And I've been told to be more realistic. I don't want to be realistic anymore, because what was realistic was unhealthy for me and for my kids, for you all, and for this planet. And I'm done with that. I'm done being realistic. So I'm holding the line of a higher consciousness, of a higher expectation, because I expect a hell of a lot more on this life than what we've been given. Very true. The discontentment of my environment had really propelled me forward to vibrate higher, and feeling that there's something even better than what I've experienced so far. Yeah, the feeling is the thing, right? We have been so conditioned away from our emotions and from the feeling, but the feeling is what is the portal between the spiritual soul level good and the conditioned physical world. So the feeling is what we need to start tuning into. Not need to, that is what we are meant to. We have to start now the conditioning of our entire world of, you know what, I'm moving forward on what I feel, not what I see logically, not what I see with these eyes. What I see here, yes, but what I see with these eyes, if I see it, it's already done. And what I see is already done is not up to my expectation. It's not what I want for my kids. I'm going to keep going on what I feel, and I feel that there is a new reality. I feel so wholeheartedly that this 5D reality exists, and that I'm moving that way. Call me crazy all you want. Call me mentally ill, because I no longer subscribe to this bullshit down here. I'm moving up here. And if you think I'm crazy, if you think I'm mentally ill for that, then have at it. Have at your thoughts, because I know mentally ill. I've lived it. Not in myself. I've observed it. I have felt it. And this is something so much different. This is so much different. This is the soul-led feeling that occurs when we know that there is something so much greater for us. And when we go for that, you can call me whatever you want. But when I get there, you can bet I'm going to be looking down, being like, you want some of this? I'll help you, you son of a bitch. But like, remember when? I'll remind you, but I'll still help you. That's what this is about. Good morning, Colorado Springs. Hey, Tara, over here hanging out in the dang hallway. Me too, sister. We are all in the hallway. Globally, we are in the hallway. Where we are individually is very unique and very different from everybody, for everything else, but we are all in it. It's so hard. Energy is so heavy. I also have pressed to take, the vax. What do I do? No one can answer that. I know it's the worst answer like anyone could give it, but it is all our own decisions. We are sovereign beings, and we have the right to choose as we want. And I know that choice is splitting families under one roof, splitting families. And yet I will remind you, Soul Z, you are a sovereign being, and you have the right to choose for yourself, and standing strong. It might mean closing the door, right? Closing the door on one and standing in that hallway and saying, I will not, or I choose to. Whatever it is your choice is, the hallway is going to have to be closing the door on one part of your life, potentially, to before you go through the next door. That's the decision all of us are making at the moment. What is right and sovereign for you? What is the feeling you have on it? Trust that. Trust that. Take all logic out of it at this point, because we can look at both sides. We can look at both sides of what we have been given as far as evidence, as far as science, and you will find plenty on both sides to support both sides. Yes or no, take it, don't take it. You are going to find enough. So we have to eventually take logic out and say, in my soul, what is in the highest and best good for me? And choose that and stand strong with that choice, trust that choice. And you don't have to explain it to anybody, you do not have to explain it to anybody, but you also can't choose it for someone else either. That's what we've got to do for ourselves. We are standing strong with you and each other. Yeah. September, I'm right there with you. Woke earlier than normal with an uncomfortability that didn't allow me to go back to sleep. I'm stayed up to do my practices. Yeah. This weekend has been really uncomfortable. And I know, and I will also say, I finally was like, you know what, I'm going to paint. And I used to do workshops, and I had one that's called Mind and Color. And it was a, more of a personal development workshop, but we would paint intuitive painting and then step back. And intuitive painting is all about what is in your mind, bringing your mind onto a canvas and then unpacking it to see what is the mind communicating. So that's my practice. So this weekend, I, started to just throw paints. I haven't painted in forever. And I was just like, I'm just going to throw paints. And when I stepped away from this layer, I was like, oh my God, it's so dark, you know? And then I was like, oh, I have been really uncomfortable this weekend. I have been doing like these stupid social media, conversations with people who are being dark. And, discerning, when do I continue with the conversation, when do I block the conversation. Really, I had a lot of lessons this weekend thanks to social media. And so when I painted this, I was like, whoa, it's super dark, I'm uncomfortable, right? There's a lot of discomfort in my own place right now, and it's showing up on this canvas. So there was a lot for me to unpack with this. So September, you're not the only one. There's just so much discomfort, but it's remembering again to step back from the discomfort and say, what do I expect for myself, and how do I raise that expectation to a higher level of standard? That's what kept coming into my mind. And then I went to that sermon yesterday, and he was talking about having a higher standard of bread. And I was like, ooh, that goes for everything. I have a higher standard of the life that I was living. I'm 47 years old, and I'm halfway through or something like that, and do the math. I'm sure as hell going to live a much higher standard with the people that I allow in my life, with the places that I live and the places I visit. I'm going to have a higher standard of the adventures that I have in my life for my future than what I did before, because I did a lot of people pleasing in that first half. I did a lot of choices, made a lot of choices to make everybody else happy. And I was okay, because I'm like, I can handle the ache. I can handle the ache of my soul wanting to be somewhere else, do something else. But that is no longer. I'm holding the standard that my soul gets its good this time. Okay. Amen to expecting more. I always say you get what you expect. Yeah, Sharon, I expect a whole heck of a lot for all of us. And I'm holding the line of that intention and that expectation for our entire world. It's funny how you're considered weird when you refuse to be institutionalized in the false narrative. Yeah, like it's painful. It's so painful to be like, for people to be like, you're crazy. And it's like, how on earth do you see me crazy? Because I want more, I'm not, I don't know. It's beyond my, I can't understand it. My mind doesn't allow me to make the connection of crazy from, because I expand my mind. I have an open mind, and I'm open to, other things than what we have been taught, what we have been learned. I critically think, I ask questions, I go down the rabbit hole of research to find what sounds truthful and what sounds right, and not right, but sounds truthful to me, and I follow that. Like the fact that following our own truthful soul intentions is crazy shows me what a low standard of living we have been conditioned into. That is the part that I think is insanely crazy, because I subscribe to that for many lifetimes, including most of this one. So that's the crazy thing for me. Yes, hang on to, oh wait, what did Soul Z say? The tribunals are underway. Yeah. I was just reading something about that actually, Lisa. So I do agree that there's truth to that. Um, it's just there's a lot of stuff that's still happening behind the scenes to bring all of this deception to an end. There's a lot that's happening, but we're not going to see a whole lot of it leaked out yet, but it's starting to get leaked out. So I do believe there are solutions and there are things that are happening. We've talked about behind the scenes last week, and I do believe that 100%, I believe that is happening, and we will start to see more and more working in our favor to bring this thing to an end. I don't know if it's going to, I don't believe it's going to happen, overnight, but I think it is underway. I saw the universe opening in that beautiful painting. Oh, you did? I love, Christine, that you saw that. I did see, I was like, okay, there's some light coming through, there's some light, there's some explosions of beautiful colors up here. And, but like there was a lot. I've every time I walk past it to go into the bathroom, actually, which is right there, I see something else in it that my mind is opening me up to. I see something else. And so it's like this workshop is so beautiful. So once I'm in my place, the whole point to all of this, the expectation that I'm waiting for, y'all, is to have a place that we can immerse ourselves into. I can live there, I can work there, to immerse myself and immerse people into these beautiful experiences, immersive experiences of getting into your soul and extracting everything that it has for you, and giving you different modalities and different ways of getting the messages. And this workshop is always really a big one that just blows people's minds open. And I'm going to be doing this, but from now I'm doing it for myself, doing this process. So when my door opens and I expand into that place that is so beautiful, that it has a view, that has the space to invite you all in, to have these amazing experiences and immersions and intimate conversations. And we can sit around a fire pit and have this conversation, but we go even deeper because we're safe to go even deeper. And we start extracting all of the truths in your soul and my soul. And we bring that together and we expand in consciousness together. That's what I left Austin to go find. I'm finding that for myself, and I'm finding it for all of us to come together and really have these expansive experiences together. These energies are wiping me out. Yeah. Going retrospective and combining with a Reiki attunement has made an exhausting integration. Been really disconnected from the 3D and time. Yeah. It's this weekend's been really weird. It's been a lot. It's been a lot of energy, a lot of, in from like the 3D stuff happening, and then also from from the solar, we've had uh solar flares, we have coronal mass injections, we've had these geomagnetic storms like all at once. It's been like a perfect storm of all the things. So it's been more of like a pressure cooker kind of energy in these last couple of days. So yeah, like for Tiffany, it's been the pressure cooker, like, ugh, all the yuck, and it's pushing it out of everybody. So I think a lot of that I knew was what I was experiencing on my DMs on social media and stuff. So I knew it was like pushing all the yuck out of people, and they're going to project it on those who can, who have more light in them. So that's kind of the holding the line. Like, do I sink down to their level and argue back and forth, or do I just give a little one liner and say, I'm not willing to have this conversation. Thank you. And, erase the conversation. But then to sit in and be like, my feelings are a little bit hurt, and, like I had to work through it. So all the gunk is coming up now, and we knew this was coming. We knew to expect this. So just allow yourself to be protected. And I say that because I need to hear myself say it as well. We have to remember to protect ourselves energetically. It's consciously putting that a consciousness around us of protection is what is needed to hold that line. So keep your standards up. Do not, I'm not telling you what to do, but I will tell you that It is going to be the world in the 3D world that's going to want to pull you back down because that's what feeds that 3D world. And holding the line means saying, no, I will no longer operate with that world. I will no longer operate in that energy. I'm going to stay with where I've worked so hard to be. And I might be in the hallway and I may not know exactly where I'm going right now, but I'm going to sit here in my sovereignty and in my power and have the courage to hold this line and wait for my next opportunity to come. And when that opportunity comes, I'm going to check in with my soul and see, is this it? Does this meet my level of expectation? And if it doesn't, I'm going to have the courage to say no and shut that door and hold the line even longer. That's what we're in at this point. So just hold the line, everybody. Love, so much love to you. I know how courageous you all are for being on here. I know what you're going through. I'm in it with you. If you do love these daily tune-ins, I will invite you to buy me a coffee, buy girl coffee for delivering them. You are not, certainly not, you don't have to, but it does make a big difference. And at the very least, just leaving a comment and let me know what you're getting out of these would be an amazing exchange of energy as well, because I like to know where you all are coming from, what you're experiencing, because that helps me know also what's going on in the collective. I can typically feel it pretty much, but to also have your confirmation helps as well to deliver these in the best and highest good for you, because I want to meet your expectations so you keep coming back. Thank you all so much for being here. So much love to you. I'll see you back tomorrow on the Daily Tune In. Hold that line, everybody. Love to you.